All right. Good evening and welcome to the Breeders' Cup edition of the First Wire podcast. I'm your host, Trey Server. Like I said, we're going to be discussing the Friday and Saturday card for the Super Bowl of horse racing being held this weekend at Del Mar Racecourse. You've got some great 2-year-old races on Friday and then some even better and almost impossible races on Saturday. Broaddus is going to join me here in just a moment, and we're going to try to give you some insight about who we like, and maybe we can narrow these races down for you. Before I do so, I just want to say hello and welcome to hopefully 2 new listeners that I met during the week at my workplace, Melissa and Paige from Equiloom. If you're not familiar with their product and you're a horse owner, a horse barn manager, you should definitely check them out at equiloom.com. Just a little kind of synopsis of what they do. They use blue light from a mask and a battery-powered, like I said, little light that they put in. They shine into the eye, and it helps to stimulate seasonal hormones. It helps to increase prolactin, suppress melatonin. Just a couple different options there that if you're looking to get your horse ready for the breeding cycle, or if you've got a horse that basically is just a crazy horse, it has been shown to have positive influences on both. So, again, thank you to Melissa and Paige. They were nice enough to visit and teach us about our product, and they brought Chick-fil-A, so that definitely got me in their good graces. So hopefully they'll enjoy this, and again, thank you to everyone else for joining. Like I said, Broaddus from the Auxiliary Gate is here tonight to join me, and I'll bring him in now. How are we doing this evening?
All right. Does blue light work on humans?
To be honest, yes, it does. Um, and I won't go into all the details about it, but it's better than white light, and then red light is another one that's supposed to help. So yeah, you've got the American flag of lights to help your body apparently.
Well, I've learned more about lights than I ever wanted to know just now.
Well, if I suck at my picking, at least I've given the audience a little bit of knowledge on something else.
Well, let's do a gentleman's bet right now that if you don't give more than 3 winners for this weekend, you have to change your name to Ray Server for the rest of the year.
Ray server?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. What's the behind for the Ray part? Is there anything, or just I'm not any good?
No, you just have to change your name to Ray.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like from have you ever seen Anchorman 2?
Yeah.
They make him change his name.
Lyle Tit.
Yeah, so that's going to be me. All right. So what's a bet for you then? Are we going to do the same?
No, there's no bet for me.
Oh, okay. So just me.
Just you. Just you.
All right.
I'm
Well, that
guaranteed I'm not going to pick more than 3 winners.
well, I can tell you now, my sheet does not have many favorites on there. So if it chalks out, then I will not be hitting that number.
That's the way it should be.
All right. Well, we'll get started here. Like I said, we're going to cover Friday and Saturday. If you're listening, hopefully you get in before Friday because obviously we're doing this Thursday evening. I have not really had an opportunity to get my picks out there, so I figured I'd do a brief synopsis of who I like. I'm going to do an ABC method, A being my top pick, B kind of my alternate, and then C just a potential long shot or somebody that I just have my eyes on to play in a try or a super. So we're going to start with Friday. It starts in race number 6. It is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. It's 5 furlongs. And my top pick in this race, and like I said, my A, if you want to go by that, is Brussels. 8-1 on the morning line for Aidan O'Brien and Christoph Similian. I like the way this, just based on watching some replays, the last 2 races finished second, both of them, but just caught my eye the way this horse runs. And just to his outside military code at 12-1 for William Buick and Charlie Appleby would be my alternate. And again, this horse doesn't show much on paper, but I just like the way this horse, at least in his last start, just got beat at York and was battling down the lane. And I think these horses have been running kind of in a straight line as they do in Great Britain. But here it's going to be a one turn. And I just think that these horses are going to be up near the lead. And if I remember correctly, last year, the 1-2 finishers were basically up near the pace the whole time. So I'm hoping for the same here. And if I'm going to give a long shot pick, Obliteration for Jose Ortiz and Steve Asmussen. This horse was well touted as a 2-year-old at Saratoga and won a couple races and then kind of had a dud. And they moved this horse to the turf and ran second at Kentucky Downs. And they're like, well, let's try it again. And it ran second at Keeneland with some really good numbers. So if this horse could maybe come off the pace and blow up the board as well. And then you obviously have the outside horses, the 8 and the 9, who are the main, and the 10. And even the 11, Schwarzenegger, is going to be on the lead, but I'm going to try to beat that horse. I think maybe get tired in the lane and these other horses come flying and catch them. Did you have any – I know you got an opinion, but do you have anybody that you want to kind of talk about?
I wouldn't settle for any low price in here. This is all about trips. So Sci-Fair is the one I like the most, but 6-1 may be too low. So if I play a pick 5, which pick 5 starts here, I think I would probably spread.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree there. I've got, I think, every horse but maybe 2 on my ticket. So have to go short elsewhere to keep it affordable. Race number 7 is the NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies going a mile and a 16th. I landed on Tommy Joe for John Velasquez and Todd Pletcher. This horse won via DQ at Keeneland. Percy's Bar went straight to the lead, and they were battling, and Percy's Bar ended up winning but got disqualified. If that horse wins that race and wins easily, I can see this horse being like 3-5, 4-5, and if 7-2 is the price they want to give me, I'm going to take it. I like a Bottle of Rouge for Mike Smith and Bob Baffert, and Explora for Juan Hernandez and Bob Baffert. I'm honestly not quite sure how the pace is going to set up. I think Meaning is going to go to the front. If Percy Barr does the same tactics, it could set up a speed duel. But that horse was on the rail, and I think just try to take advantage of a speed favoring track. So I can see Meaning going to the lead, Tommy Joe stalking, and Tommy Joe taking over the top of the stretch and trying to hold off these closers. Like I said, 7-2 is too juicy for me to pass up. Did you have any opinion there?
I really like Meaning in here a little bit. Should get a price. I think it's curious that Michael McCarthy decided to race this horse in the Juvenile Fillies off one race.
Mm-hmm.
At Los Alamitos, I don't care for that. I'm sure she didn't beat much in there. But, at the price, I'm going to use her. Explorer is going to be tough, obviously, and you name the others. Bottle of Rouge, I think, has a chance. You'll hear the stat floated around that Baffert's never won a juvenile or juvenile fillies off of the previous race being the Del Mar Futurity or Del Mar Debutante. But, I think that, the way that horses are raced nowadays, that's not that big of a deal anymore. So I would consider using Bottle of Rouge in there as well, and Percy's Bar would be the other one. But from a Ragozin point of view, Bottle of Rouge looks like she's ready to move forward. So I think those 4 are the most likely candidates for me in my exotics.
Okay. Well, this next race potentially could be a single if you believe in the horse. This would be the John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies going 1 mile. That horse that I'm speaking of is actually going to be on the far outside, and that's Precise for Aidan O'Brien. This horse has done nothing wrong. I think it's won 4 in a row. The only thing that concerns me is the outside, and I've watched some of the replays, and this horse kind of has a weird stride for me personally to watch. Has been a little green and maybe still trying to figure things out, being 2 years old. I'm going to go to a price and try to upset, and that's going to be with Pacific Mission, the 12 horse. This horse broke its maiden at Kempton on the all-weather, and then they ran in the 1 mile stakes race at Doncaster. And I just like the way this kind of set up for this horse. They broke into two lines, and this was a 1 mile straight race. And this horse fought on, and I think it could really step up and be right there at the wire. If you're looking for maybe someone local that you've heard of before, Time to Dream was the big favorite at Keeneland and did not win. Was actually upset in that race by Imagination Lady, and then Infinite Sky just to her outside ran second. I'm going to forgive that. I think the horse maybe got a little bit of a tough trip, and if I had to maybe use somebody underneath, I would use the 9. And then if you're looking to fill out your try, I think the horse on the inside 1, 2, and 3 have a chance to hit the board as well. Can you beat Precise in this race?
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do in my late pick 5 or late pick 4. I mean, she's fine here. She's probably going to get a wide trip. Going to have to be a little bit lucky. And like I've said before in some of these other pods, that normally you get Ryan Moore for these Aidan O'Brien runners, and Ryan Moore always finds the right seam. He always delivers the perfect trip. But now that he's broken his hip, he's not here. You get Christophe Soumillon, who's a fine rider in his own right. He's one of the world's best, but you don't get that Ryan Moore factor. So I'm a little bit against Precise here. So to the inside are the horses I'm looking at. I'll probably use number 1, Ultimate Love, who's undefeated in 3 starts, has a tremendous female family, traces back to a Arc de Triomphe winner, Urban Sea. And I like her a whole lot. I think she's got a really dazzling turn of foot that might work here at Del Mar. Number 3, Imagination the Lady, Infinite Sky, number 4, both come out of the same race. Both by Not This Time. If you're following racing, Not This Time has been just absolutely on fire this fall. I think he had maybe 12 or 13 winners at the Keeneland meet. I know he finished 1, 2, 3, 4 in a stakes. Like both of those, and then Final Accord would be the other one I would use for Mark Casse. First time stretching out in start number 3, and I think Final Accord is a daughter of War of Will, and I think his best progeny have fared well stretching out. So it'll be those 4 for me. Try to beat the favorite, Precise.
Okay, I like it. Which moves us on to race number 10, which is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. No, I'm sorry, I missed one. Race number 9, which is the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a mile and 16th on the dirt. This is where I'm going to try to I'm gonna separate myself, but I'm going to single, and I'm going to go with Ted Noffey. This horse has just been ultra impressive. At Saratoga and then came to Keeneland and dusted him there. You've got Brant to his inside that's got some speed. I think Comport for the Tyler and Eddie Keneally are going to go to the front, and I think Brant, litmus test, they're going to show speed. So I think Ted Noffey is going to sit off and pull almost like a journalism trip, or not journalism, I'm sorry, fierceness, and win going away from the outside. I'm going to use Intrepido and Blackout Time as my 2 alternates underneath to fill out the exacta. These horses have done nothing wrong. I just think Ted Noffey might be a little stronger. And then if you're looking for a big horse to throw in to maybe even spice it up even more, I'm hoping for a fast pace and maybe a little bit of a meltdown behind a Ted Noffey, and that's Mr. AP. If you get 30 to 1, I'd be very surprised. But this horse has a nice turn of foot, and like I said, I'm hoping for maybe a little bit of a speed duel, and then they start to fade, and Ted breaks their heart, and these horses come flying to pick up the pieces. Can you beat Ted Noffey in this race?
I think you can with the second choice, Brant. Brant ran a hole in the wind in his first start for Bob Baffert, Zidane Racing, and on sheets and even on buyer figures, he bounced a little bit, and he still won the Del Mar Futurity. Baffert gave him a break. So one of 2 things are going to happen. He's going to get back to that big effort where he broke his maiden. If he does that, he should win this, or he'll never be the same again. So, I'd be willing to gamble that he'll get back to that big effort. So Brant, if you could use 2, I would use Brant and obviously the favorite Ted Noffey. If you only have room for 1, which will make the ticket a whole lot cheaper, I think I would just single Brant. That's just my
Oh,
opinion. Obviously, Ted Naffy has the reputation, so you're going to pay for it in terms of price. He'll probably be the lowest favorite on the 2 days. So for me, Brant is the one I like the most.
all right. Well, the way we're going, I'm changing my name, so I'll go ahead and just put that in the books. Which leads us to the last race, which on Friday is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. It's a mile on the turf. Again, you've got a really heavy favorite in this race, Gastad, the 14, again for Aiden O'Brien. I think you start here, obviously, but just, again, I've been watching this horse race overseas. Just has kind of it takes him a while to get started, and as you see, he's got 3 straight seconds. They're really good seconds, but that kind of scares me just because, like I said, this horse still kind of green, kind of figured it out, but never really gets to the wire first. And at 9-5, and with all the talk, I'm a little concerned to put this horse on top or even single. The 12 horse, Broaddus for Manny Frankel and Miguel Clement. This horse has won back-to-back races and has a very big turn of foot. And then if you want to go maybe a couple other horses, like I said, if you're trying to beat the favorite, outfielder for Wesley Ward caught my eye. Let's Be Frank for a Mike Maker, who usually does well at these long distance races. And then I'll give you another bomb that potentially could hit the board, and that's Stark Contrast at 30-1 for Mike McCarthy. Kazushi Kimura is going to take the mount, and this horse has won back-to-back races at the mile. So, again, if you're trying to beat a horse, I'm going to try to take a big shot, and I'm going to use that horse as well. Can you beat Gastad?
Well, I was really disappointed when this horse drew the outside. I had a gut feeling when I was watching the draw that this was going to happen because this horse is head and shoulders above anything in here easily. So the question is, do you swallow? You might actually get a better price than 9-5 now just because of the post. I mean, nobody wins from the 14 hole at Del Mar, but I don't like anything else in here, to be honest. I mean, I think you could make cases for Street Beast, outfielder. Outfielder was supposed to be all world. His maiden breaker at Churchill back in the spring was just unreal. And then he went to France and lost to Stad in the pre-morning. And then he comes back and runs on the dirt at Keeneland and does okay. You know, he wins an allowance race, and then Ward decides to ship him here. I'm not. I don't know. I'm hoping for some scratches between now and the time I have to put in my ticket. I think I'm just going to go single Stad and hold my breath and hope for the best because I think he's easily the best in this crew. Just don't lose ground on both turns.
No, I totally agree with that. Okay, like I said, that wraps up Friday. Hopefully you've got some money from that to bet on Saturday. It starts in race number 4. It starts with the 7 furlong filly and mare sprint, and this is 7 furlongs, so a little farther than maybe a normal sprint distance of 6 furlongs. I saw this race potentially being kind of a speed duel between Sweet Azteca, Holland Ice, and Ricci. And with that being said, I'm hoping that Hope Road can sit just off of him in third, as he did or she did in her last race in the Ballerina, and end up winning that race. I'm going to put her on top, and then I'm going to use Tamara. This horse was well regarded back a couple years ago, and was the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and just ran flat. And obviously something happened because the horse came back a year later and ran again and got hurt or was just laid off again until October of this year. Finally wins, and they bring her into the Breeders' Cup. So I think this horse has a ton of talent, obviously just not very healthy. And then if you want to use a little longer shot, if there is a pace duel, I think Vava at 12-1 is very enticing. I know this horse has maybe tailed off a little bit in form. But yeah, for me, it's going to be Hope Road with Tamara underneath.
This race scares me because it just seems too easy. I think, two of the three fillies you named are going to go at it head to head, and there's going to be some collateral damage late. I mean, I'm thinking 21 and 444. These fillies are going to get leg weary. Hope Road should set the perfect trip. The other one, Ricci, you said might be on the lead. I'm not so certain that they'll gun her to the lead because she's got that route speed. She'd be on the lead if this were a mile and 16th, maybe. But turning back, if you go back further into some of her races at Santa Anita early in the year, the Los Flores, she was able to rate successfully, and then the Santa Monica, she didn't win, but she was rating off of a slowish pace, 22 and 345. I think it maybe Ricci fires her best. She's got a shot to win here. So for me, it's those two, Hope Road, Ricci, and this would be the type of race that I would consider playing some type of trifecta or superfecta, and I would try to get Zeitlos, number one, into the number because all the speed in here, what we project to be a fast pace, there's one closer in the race, and that's her. And remember the race last year, Soul of an Angel won coming from off the pace with Drayden Van Dyke and beat all those really nice horses right on the wire. Zylos might do the same thing. She'll be dead last early. She had a little trouble last time, finished third in the TCA at Keeneland. Asmussen's going really well lately.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get Joel Rosario. I like Zeitlos a lot. So, if I were using two, I'd use Hope Road and Ricci. If I were using three, I think I'd throw in Zeitlos.
Okay. I think I'd like them more if Keith was riding.
Keith's been hot lately.
Yes, he has. He's Irad Jr.
Yeah, Keith James.
All right. Well, if we can get through that first leg, that brings us to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. It's 5 furlongs on the turf. Very wide open event in my eyes. I'm going to try to go to a horse that's proven, and that's AG Bullet for Richard Baltus and John Velasquez. I think this horse, they went gate to wire at Kentucky Downs, but I don't think needs the lead, can sit right off of it and power home. I was actually very impressed by Kadim, the 4 at Keeneland. This horse was dead last and not even on the screen. And Joe Shiesty and some others went really fast, and this horse picked up the pieces very well. And I could see that this horse flying late to maybe, like I said, be on the wire, maybe try to catch AG Bullet. So you got an 8-4 exacta. And then Arizona Blaze, the 3 horse. This horse has enjoyed this distance going 4 for 8. And I think he's going to enjoy getting on the good, or they list as good in Europe, but it's going to be a fast track at Del Mar and the Turn. I just think this horse has got some zip as well. So I'm going to go 8-4-3 as my top 3 selections. How about yourself?
This is going to be all about the trip. Somebody's going to get a bad trip. Somebody's going to get a good trip. That's the bottom line. There's a couple horses in here that I would use as keys. Reef Runner's gotten really good for David Fox since shipping out to California. Got a really nice trip last time last 2 times. Got a rail trip to get up and won both starts. He got disqualified in the Green Flash and because he cut off Motorius coming out of the gate. But,
I'm glad he did because I singled Motorius.
There you go. So, but he draws the 2 hole here. Motorius draws the 1. Both of them should project to get decent trips. I think I would play one of those 2 to get into the money. There's a horse in here that I probably is going to get overlooked, and I don't know what to do with him. Is number 5, Bring the Band Home. If you draw a line through the Nearctic Stakes at Woodbine, this horse is absolutely 7-5 because his 2 races at Saratoga were absolutely fast. Fastest horse in the race. But don't know what happened at Woodbine. I would think if he's 12-1 or higher, I think I would probably place a win bet on him. And Ag Bullet's fine. Bear River this could be a really fast pace. so it could set up for a closer. I know I've heard a lot of people talk about Arizona Blaze, the Euro shipper. I think horse ran well last year in the juvenile turf sprint. Yeah, he did finish second last year. So, he might be a horse that comes flying. He won a Group 1 in Ireland his last start. It's wide open. Like if you're gutsy, you could single in here and then try to hit a big one. But I'm not sure where I would single. Maybe like I said, bring the band home looks strong. You get a good price, but a lot of questions there.
Well, I'm gonna have to add a couple more because you convinced me. So at least you did a good job doing that to one person. All right, so this brings us to race number 6, or the third race of the Breeders' Cup. It's a 6 furlong Breeders' Cup sprint. And I got to ask you because I know I've heard many people on this horse, and I'm sure you're one of them. And that's number 10, Ben Tornado, Irad, and Jose D'Angelo. This horse ran in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year and just got beat at 28-1. They put him on the shelf until recently at Churchill, and this horse crushed by 5. And then they bring him straight to the Breeders' Cup, and 5-2 from the 10 hole. Looks pretty tough because you've got Copian, who's a filly taking on the boys from the rail. She's very impressive. And then you've got the reigning champion, Straight No Chaser, on the far outside. And this horse is kind of, I don't know if you want to say fell off form, but has been running lesser numbers the last couple races. So are you all in on that 10 horse Bentornato?
Well, yes and no. Again, the Sheets people are concerned about this horse because he ran a big figure last year in the Breeders' Cup Sprint to finish second, and that knocked him out almost for an entire year. And he comes back and he runs depends on what service you use. He runs a new top, or he runs or he paired his top from last year. And so if you use Sheets theory, this horse is setting up for a big bounce. So if you could bounce this horse out of your exotics, this was a 5-2 choice that's probably going to be the favorite. It would pay handsomely if you could beat him. But my goodness, he looked so good in the race at Churchill, the Louisville Thoroughbred Society, and then he looked good coming off the plane. So I'm inclined to use him. There are some others in here that I think are worth using. Copian is the head scratcher because she was an absolute single in the Philly Mare Sprint, and for whatever reason they decided to go here. Now she draws the rail, and I'm not crazy about that. But she's had a lot of time since her last start at Del Mar, and I think she's got a shot in here, but you're not getting much for a price. The other one that I kind of like is Big City Lights, who's coming off a long layoff. And if this horse fires off the bench, I think he's got a shot to get part of this too. I mean, he's really fast on sheets. So Ben Tornado is the one I like the most. But, Copian, Big City Lights are interesting as well. And of course, Imagination ran huge in his comeback as well. So
I got to ask you a question. I just happened to look at Copian. Do you believe this workout that happened October 26th, 3-33?
Probably wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, they're probably trying to get her tight for this. It's going, she's going to have to break well from the gate. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that's correct. I'm sure it is.
They went a 6 furlong into a 3 furlong, basically like a pull it out of a gun.
And fillies have done well in this race. Going back to the good old days, I remember Safely Kept finished second one year and then come back and won the next year. She won the sprint. Mia Farah was a good filly. I think ran second in this race. Soviet Problem ran second at Churchill in a sprint. So fillies have a really good record in here. Good to see Copian in here instead of going to the Philly Mare Sprint. Although for my bankroll, I'd rather seen her in the other race.
Yeah, no doubt. This leads us to the next race, which is the mile and eighth Breeders' Cup Distaff. You get the one horse Nitrogen on the rail. This horse, I'm not really quite sure why they switched from the turf to the dirt because this horse was killing everybody. But just ran second. The Spinster got beat by a nose against Jin Jin. I think that horse has a big chance. And you've got Seismic Beauty, who's the 9-5 favorite. This horse is speed and speed and speed. It looks like she likes to go gate to wire, and I can't see this horse not being in the same trip. And then you've got a horse I think could potentially round out the try, and that's Scylla. This horse doesn't like to win, but is in 15 lifetime starts has been in the money in 13 of them. So I'm going to put that horse underneath, but I think it's going to be for me anyway, it's going to be a favorite exacta, Seismic Beauty and Nitrogen.
Yeah, I think this race could fall apart, to be honest. The concern was Seismic Beauty would get an easy lead here, but I don't know. With Jin Jin in here, Jin Jin might go with her early. And then there's this Japanese filly, or this Japanese mare, Alice Verite, has early speed if they choose to use it. I thought they would use it last year in this race, and she missed the break. And, she came from behind. She finished okay to get fourth. Not a very strong field, but, regardless, she got fourth. And I don't know what to do. So I think there's a chance. I think you have to make arrangements if this race falls apart. Who would come pick up the pieces? And Scylla had a really rough trip in the Spinster last time. Stumbled at the start, and then she was kind of trapped inside. But the problem with her is she like you said, she never passes horses. The one time I'm looking at her past performances here, she did win a stake. She won the Fleur de Lis, but didn't beat much. And that was last year. But and she's been in sprints up until the Spencer Stakes, and now they've decided to stretch her out. We should know Scottish Lassie is out. She's been
Yeah,
scratching this.
yeah, I was getting ready to say that. I think that's a pace factor for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I have no idea. If she can get a fair pace, obviously Seismic Beauty is going to be trouble in here, but I don't know. I'm at a loss. Honestly, I'm going to have to pass. As dumb as that. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll just edit this part out and we won't even include this race in there.
I'll tell you another one that's interesting. That a filly that looks like $1 million on the racetrack is Sarah Whack Rim. This is an Argentine filly. This will be the last starter for Nacho Correas as he's going to retire after the race. And she's a Group 1 winner in Argentina, 4 of 5. Like, if the race falls apart, it wasn't that long ago. Neige Blanche won the race for Japan, coming
Mm-hmm.
from off the pace after a big meltdown. I wouldn't leave this filly out. And she's a 4-year-old, but she's bred on Southern Hemisphere time, so she's not even, she's really just turning 4 right now. So there may be some improvement for her. And, like I said, wide open to me.
All right, well, if we can get through that race, then we've got what I think again is a 2-horse race, and so that's the mile and a half Breeders' Cup Turf. You've got the defending 2-time champion, I think, Rebels Romance on the rail. Again, we got all these really nice horses on the rail. I hope it doesn't affect them that much. And then you've got the other horse that I think obviously is a contender. It's 8-5 is Mini Hawk, much better post, and this one's for Aiden O'Brien. Just ran second in the Arc de Triomphe. And then if you're looking for maybe a second stringer that I think potentially could hit the board, I'm going to go with El Cordobles. This horse, they shipped him over to New York and won the Sword Dancer at Saratoga, and then came back and ran third. I got beat by Rebels Romance in the Turf Classic at Aqueduct. But I think obviously this horse is a second stringer of the group, but I wouldn't discount this horse if you're looking for somebody underneath. But to me, I think it's going to be, like I said, the 1-8-8-1 exacta.
if there's anything I've ever learned is just don't let the Euros beat you in this race. So, you know, obviously all the money's going to go to Minnie Hawk off the big run at the Arc de Triomphe, and she's going to get a weight break. Not sure how much. There was question about whether or not Christophe Soumillon could get 119. If he does, that's 7 pounds you get from the older horses. So I think that makes her a factor in here. Rebel's Romance is obvious. Goliath has a big number on the sheets that he ran in uh, Germany in the Grosser Prix von Baden at Baden-Baden. I think Baden-Baden was the second Derby winner. Goliath, I would use Goliath. I would use Amalok. Turning back in distance after a decent second in the Irish St. Leger. I would use Mini Hawk. Then there's a couple others in here. You know, Salawi could be the pace setter. Went wire to wire in the Canadian International. I think he was supposed to be kind of a pace setter for an entry mate there. And he hung on to win. Wouldn't mind to use him. And then, of course, El Cordobas had a big number, finishing third to Rebels Romance last time. So, yeah, I mean, I think I could see myself going 6 deep here in some tickets. But obviously the main action would go to the inside 3 plus Mini Hawk.
Okay, well, we're going to have to find a single here somewhere. So hopefully you've got a
Oh, I got one later.
very strong. Okay, very good.
Got one later.
All right. This leads us to, and again, this can be debated whether or not it should be the middle race or the last race, but it is what it is. We've got the 1.25 mile Breeders' Cup Classic. Unfortunately, you have the defection of Sovereignty, who was the 6-5 morning favorite. The Derby winner, the Belmont winner, the Travers winner. For me, I thought was going to be the Breeders' Cup winner as well. So that I had to kind of obviously switch my gears there. I'm going to go with the defending runner-up and defending champion from last year to run 1-2 again, and that's Fierceness and Sierra Leone. And then I think Mindframe. I liked Mindframe in the Jockey Club, and obviously got wiped out at the start and end up on his back. Irad Ortiz, that is. So, like I said, I think Fierceness is going to. They talk about the rail for Fierceness being a disadvantage. I think actually this horse is going to be able to sit a nice trip, and if he can relax and power through like he did in the Pacific Classic, I think he gets first run, and then you have, like I said, Sierra Leone charging from behind and having a nice duel. I'd love to see Journalism to run a nice race. That they got rid of Umberto Rispoli for Jose Ortiz, and I talked to the guys at Don Alberto, and they said they just basically got tired of the horse always being too far back, and they're hoping that maybe Jose can ride this horse a little more aggressive. But the only part I'm worried about there is it kind of takes away his late kick if you have to use too much of him early. So I think that horse has a shot, but I would say more likely to run fourth or third than to win. So for me, like I said, it's going to be Fierceness and Sierra Leone.
This race is it's interesting because all the horses are basically evenly matched. And so if they're evenly matched, it kind of comes down to tactics. So does Fierceness, if Fierceness can avoid getting into an entanglement with the Rabbit, contrary thinking, I think he stands a big chance. Same goes for Forever Young, who should be top 3 going into the first turn. I think he's got a big shot in here. Sierra Leone, if they go too fast, has a shot to pick him up. I think Mindframe would be one that I'd be very interested in if he'd had a prep for this. But he hadn't had a real race since late June. That was a Stephen Foster. And then, of course, the rider fell off in the Jockey Club Gold Cup in his last start. So that was inconclusive. Baeza's a horse I like on the inside. He ran to a new top, kind of broke through in the Pennsylvania Derby. He gets a rail trip with Hector Barrios, who knows how to ride Del Mar. It's a great race. It's not as great as it would have been. I would have liked to seen if Sovereignty could handle the older horses, because that's what really marks a true champion is when they beat older horses. And the older horses this year are really good. So, you know, man, right now I think I'm leaning maybe Fierceness gets a rail run. Fierceness, Forever Young, Baeza are my top three. But
Okay.
I mean, it's wide open. Mind frame's fine. If you remember, Invasor won this classic at Churchill. He beat Bernardini, but Invasor had not raced since the Whitney in early August. That was unheard of back at the time. So, a long break's not that big a deal. Seems like I'm way back. Arcong was a French raider that won the race at like 105 to 1. And I don't think he had raced since early July. So, it's not impossible what I'm trying to say for a horse like Mindframe to win the classic. So, great race. Looking forward to it. But well,
Do you give any chance to Nevada Beach? I've heard that name thrown around a couple times as well for Bob Baffert.
I'm hot and cold on this horse. This horse has the absolute perfect progression going into the race. Uh, his best. I mean, he just beat the hell out of Full Serrano last time in the Goodwood. Just flicked him aside. That horse was like 1-5. Last year's Breeders' Cup Mile winner, and ran a big number. If you think that horse can duplicate that effort, he obviously has a chance to get in here as well. So, like I said, it's and we're leaving out Antiquarian, who's gotten really good as well, but he draws a wide outside. So, I mean, you got to start kicking a few out.
Exactly right. I think it's kind of funny because obviously we have our own feelings about Flo. They put him on the rabbit. I can't think of anybody worse to put on somebody that they want to be the rabbit.
Well, all he's got to do is get to the lead. That's the key.
Well, he tends to not break them very well, so I can see that horse not being on the lead.
Go back and watch American Pharaohs, or was it no? It was Justifies Belmont, and he rode Restoring Hope, I think, and his main goal was to basically throw blocks for the Pletcher horses, and he did a very good job of that. So even though the horse did break slowly, so it would be interesting if the horse misses the break. I don't, then you really have to give a Fierceness and Forever Young major advantages. So.
Yes.
Hmm.
All right. Well, this leads us to the 1 mile Breeders' Cup Mile. Let's see. I've got no real honest opinion in this race. I think you've got Notable Speech, the two, who's probably going to be a big favorite. Just won the Woodbine Mile. Salon, just to his outside, won the Prix de Moulin. And then I give actually a little bit of a chance, and I think it'd be a cool story, is Will Walden with the 11 horse with Rhetorical. This horse won the Turf Mile at Keeneland, and this horse is not this time, like you mentioned before, is a New York bred, and this horse has been progressively getting better, and I think it's going to send a nice trip, but I'm not quite sure if good enough to beat some of the best 1 milers in the world. So give me 2, 3, and maybe a little bit of 11 as an outlier.
I think Notable Speech, first of all, would be forwardly placed. I think he was too far back in this race last year, and his kick is not that great. And I'm not 100% sure he's better than he was last year, so that's a point against him. A lot of people like Salon. I'm not nuts about him. I think the European milers are not what they used to be. The key race for me will be the Keeneland Turf Mile. Go back and watch that. Rhetorical got a perfect trip, stalking the speed. He might get that again here. If he does, he might win. Program Trading is a horse I think's got a shot if he gets a good trip. And then Jonquil, the horse that finished, where did he finish? Help me out there. Did he finish third?
Let's see. He is number 10. He finished fourth.
Finished fourth. Had a trip. He had to come from behind. For me, it's those three. And Karat is the horse that could go to the lead from that 13 hole. They may just, send him. I think he was supposed to be a rabbit. Well, I'm getting my horses confused. Never mind. Well, anyway, regardless, I think this trip could be fast early. So I think I'm going to put those three. Those three are the main ones: program trading and rhetorical and jonquil. I like those three a lot.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't have much of an opinion, so maybe we can get through with one of those winners. Which leads us to race number 8, which is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. This race has Nisos, the 3 horse, as the 8-5 morning line favorite. This horse has always been well regarded. The only time I can see this run at 1 mile, won by 7.5, and followed that up with a second place in the Churchill Downs Grade 1, won the Triple Bend in the San Diego, and it's 2 for 2 at Del Mar. And to me, I think this horse is the most logical winner and probably my single. If this horse doesn't win, then to be quite honest, I'm not sure who I'd even pick. But I'm going to say that if there's a speed duel, potentially, maybe if something were to happen, like the race would fall apart, I think we'll take it on the rail at 30-1 for Mike Smith. This horse has a nice late kick. Throw out the ack, and this horse has run 100 Beyer speed figure before. I can see this horse rolling late to maybe pick up the pieces at a big price, but I'm all in on Nisos.
I will. I'll take a Baffert sandwich here. I'm going to use Nisos, but I think there's a chance goal oriented could just gun to the lead. And if he does, and Full Serrano takes back, I think goal oriented could go to wire to wire. Goal oriented ran a really big race. Or his last two, really, in the Pennsylvania Derby and the Haskell. The turnback is interesting for this horse. He hasn't run anything less than a mile and 16th since his debut. When he ran a really nice maiden breaker. So goal oriented is a horse I'm very interested in. Nisos would be the one to pick up the pieces if Full Serrano decides to go with goal oriented. So that's your race going into the first turn. It's a matter of what Full Serrano does. If he takes back, goal oriented has a big shot. If he tries to engage, I think Nisos picks him up late. So give me those two, and we'll try to get through to the last leg.
All right. Well, you said you had a single, so I'm going to assume it's in this race. It's the 1 3/8 Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. If you've got a single, I don't have much of an opinion. I think Cinderella's Dream has a big shot. Obviously, She Feels Pretty is a very nice filly. Drew the 13 post. That'd be the only reason maybe to maybe knock this horse. And then Diamond Rain for Charlie Appleby. This horse ran second to She Feels Pretty, first time in the States. And I'm going to try to get through with the 6, 9, and 13.
For me, this will be the single, Cinderella's Dream. And there's only one reason. Charlie Appleby was asked who his best shot to win was. He thought Cinderella's Dream. I thought that was interesting because he's got Rebel's Romance among a few others. Notable speech. This filly's coming in off 2 losses in Group 1s in Great Britain and France. She should have won the race last year. Didn't have the best trips. Cinderella's Dream's the one I'm going to single. Hopefully we'll go out on a winning note.
All right. Well, if we can get that far, we'll be screaming "Don't fall off," as our friend Dan Cronin likes to say. So that brings us to the end of our Breeders' Cup coverage. Like I said, there are 14 races over 2 days. There's many different bets that you can look into. All dirt pick fours, all turf pick fours, all 2-year-old pick fours. The classic distaff double. There's a ton of them. So if you like to bet, and obviously if you're listening and like you're a fan of horse racing, you're going to be. So best of luck, and I hope you guys make some money. And CC, thank you again for joining me this evening. I know it was a little long of a show, but I feel like we got a lot of insight, and hopefully somebody can take away a winner for us. And I'll go ahead and get my name ready to be changed because you don't like a lot of the horses I've picked. So you're usually better than I am.
Well, it's good to talk to you, Ray Ray, and we'll see you next time. And I'm rooting for under 2.5 for you.
All right. Well, I'd say you're a 1-9 favorite right now to do that. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Best of luck, and we will see you again on the First Wire podcast.